Good morning, everyone. Good morning. Welcome to the Duron Morning Show. Today is Monday, March 1st, 2021. Jesus, March already? Oh man, this is episode 33. It's going to be about perception and perspective and the difference between them. Let me just start off by saying I apologize for the late start. Of course, it's Monday morning, technical difficulties. What could be better on a Monday morning, right? So let's just get started and dive right in. If you're new here, I appreciate you tuning in. If you're watching this later on any social media platforms, you can follow me on all of them at the Duron Coles. Like I said, like everyone knows, the show is Monday through Friday, 7:30 a.m. to 8:30 a.m. So let's just jump right in. So I hope everyone had a beautiful weekend first and foremost. I know that time has been flying for me, and that's not all part of it, but some that has something to do or some part with perception versus perspective as well. Now that I got a drink of the lucky water, let's do this. So perception versus perspective. Sometimes they're used interchangeably, but they're actually, and they have to be used together, but they're different. So perspective is the way the vantage point you have. There's actually a movie called Vantage Point. So that kind of helps me think about like what it actually is. For example, if there were 3 people in a room and they were all looking at the same thing, the perspective is the angle or the viewpoint from which they're seeing it. You know, if we were all at a basketball game or something, if someone's on the floor seat, someone's at the top row, what do they call those, the blood nose or whatever they call them. But if someone's at the top row and someone's at the bottom row, those are 2 different perspectives. Same thing they're looking at, but 2 different perspectives. Now perception is the way that you take your perspective and you use your emotions, your upbringing, everything that you've been through in your life to perceive it, take it in, and make a judgment about it. So, for example, if that's that person from the top row and the person on the bottom row, they're seeing the same celebrity, same LeBron James or something on the court. The person on the top row might be like, oh my gosh, LeBron James isn't as big as he seems on TV. He's actually pretty small or whatever. But the person from the top row, on the bottom floor, on the floor seats, might be like, yo, he's really 6'9", he's massive, he's huge. They're seeing the same thing but perceiving it in 2 different ways. And that's just on a physical sense. Emotionally, they might say, the person at the top row might say, oh, like I said, they're looking at the same thing, but they might be not as attached to the game because they're so far away. They might perceive it and go, like, this is actually boring. People like coming to these games. Like, this isn't that fun. I can't really hear anything, can't really see anything. But that person on the floor seats might perceive it and go, this is awesome. I'm trying to do this as many times as I can in 1 year. This is a once-in-a-lifetime thing. Like, they might look at it like this is the best thing ever. Two different perspectives and also causing 2 different perceptions. Now, it doesn't always have to be like that. Someone could have 2 different perspectives and the same perception. Even though, I was reading about that, and I don't think any perceptions are going to be the same, just like how two people can never be the same. For the way I feel and the way someone else feels, and the way someone interprets something and the way I interpret something can't be the same. Even if they're similar, 99.999% similar, they can't be the same because that person isn't me and I'm not them. So what made me talk about this and what made me want to do a whole deep dive into perception versus perspective? You guys know I always like to try to tell you where the subject came from. And this one wasn't something like how I normally do. This wasn't like, I saw it on Twitter and I was like, this is a great topic to talk about. This wasn't one of those. I actually got this subject brought up to me when I was a freshman in college. And I didn't understand it back then. And it makes me think about it. Every time I think about this topic or it comes to light, I always think about, dang, I tried to my professor tried to introduce this to me years ago, and I had no idea what she was talking about. But why it came up today or recently is just with everything going on in today's world right now, that, or rather in the United States, in the world as well, but specifically in the United States, there's just so much going on with people being really wealthy and people people being at the bottom, and everyone wants to fight each other. There's black versus white. There's this, and I think I personally, I just feel like everyone doesn't understand each other, and we just aren't looking at things from other people's lenses. We're only taking our own like perception and our own perspective, and we're not really taking the time to see other people's perspective or their perception. So that's why it came about. But I already gave a lot of examples from like what do they call that? Like a surface level. Let's try to go dive a little deeper as it relates to, like I said, that topic. I think when it comes to, it's 2 or 3 different things that I want to dive into. So first and foremost, I want to talk about, like I said, seeing other people's perception, and then everything else is going to build off of that. Not only seeing someone else's perception about their own life, but their perception of you as well. It's a crazy subject or a topic to think about, but there are however many people you know, that's how many different yous there are in the world or in the universe, however you want to describe it. No one perceives you as the same. The way you perceive yourself is one way. That might be Duron, like the way that I see myself. But the way that someone else sees me is a completely different person. The way my mom sees me, my dad, my girlfriend, my brothers, everyone. Like there's different ones of us. So I'm going to take a dive into that as well. And then lastly, I want to talk about, I guess, the world and how each and one of us sees the world. Well, that's kind of based off number 1, but it's a little different, and I'll explain later. So, number 1, the way that we see each other. I think that, and this goes kind of into the Sonder episode I did just a little bit, but the way that we see each other and see the world is always, in my opinion, very selfishly, and that's no fault of our own. We've kind of been, for lack of a better term, taught to see it that way. We're taught, like, the American dream is to, this is a quote, they always say, pull up your bootstraps and get to work. That's like a quote that they always say. So when we act selfishly, let's just call it that, when we act selfishly, there's not really much to blame to say, like, oh wow, I can't believe that they did that, or can't believe they acted so selfishly, because that's kind of what we're taught. So let's look at it from this perspective, pun intended. Let's look at it from this perspective. This one I actually did see on Twitter, so this is a perfect thing to talk about. I actually saw this on Twitter this morning. In Toronto, there is this parking lot that they're trying, that I don't know the city or the state or anything like that, but I know it's in Toronto, Canada. They're trying to change this parking lot into a housing complex for 64 affordable housing homes for the homeless. And the people in the community are really, really, really fighting it. And they're saying, like, this parking lot it helps with baseball games, and it houses an elementary school and middle school, and just recreational events. Like, this parking lot, quote unquote, is a staple of our community. And I read the comments. I always read the comments just to get everybody's different perspective and perception. And a lot of people, more people than I thought, a lot of people were were saying like, oh, I agree with them. Like, if they don't want this built in their community, then it is what it is. And other people was like, you guys are not being compassionate. It's a parking lot. You guys could park somewhere else. These people are literally homeless. They wish they had the opportunities to be able to go, to be able to like drive a car and need like a parking lot. You guys are being very selfish and thinking only about yourselves when when this homeless population, they literally just need homes. You guys have homes and have cars and have all these things, and you have so much of it that you're not even taking into consideration. Wow, we're fighting for a parking lot. And someone said, where you guys are arguing over where cars sleep. That's what they said. So let's look at it. I always try to look at both sides. So let's look at it from the two different perspectives and then take their perception. So on the community side, the family members, the parents, they see it as, oh, this is where the elementary school is. This is where my kids play and stuff. And now in the middle of it, you guys are going to build a, most likely like a huge, not high-rise skyscraper type thing, but not small, probably a fairly large building if it has 64 affordable housing units, which are probably going to have their own type of heating in the basement and everything. Like, it's going to have to be a big unit, big platform, and it's going to be done very quickly. They interviewed the community like director or like not the mayor, but like the community director, the person responsible for building this. They interviewed him, and he said the money that they're getting from the federal government. Like I said, this is the Canadian government. Before I knew this was Toronto, I said, wait, the federal government is giving the money, not like the state. That this is Fed, but this is Canada. So their federal government is giving them these funds to build this affordable like housing complex, and they're giving them a very tight deadline. It needs to be built, and people need to be moved in by the end of 2021, December 31st, 2021. It needs to be built and like fully housed. Or I might have added that last part. That's what I got from it. He didn't say fully housed, but he said people need to be moved in, not moving in. He said moved in. So I'm assuming it needs to be at some half capacity, full capacity, some guideline, some percentile. So from the community's perspective, they're saying this is going to be built very quickly. We're not going to have any time to adjust. They were very upset that they didn't get an input on this. There was no like, oh, hey guys, we're going to be doing this. They just found out when like construction signs were out there. So I understand like that side, their perspective, where they're coming from. You guys are quote unquote dismantling our community without even talking to the community members. However, let's look at it from the other perspective. These homeless people are part of the community as well. And they always say, everyone always wants to say help your brother out, help people out, until it's time to help people out. Everyone will say like, oh, like everyone is arguing the community, and no one's saying, oh, well, you guys need to take into consideration these people are homeless and they need this help. They need this. And someone was saying, like a lot of people in the Twitter comments were saying, it would have just been more honest for you guys to say we don't want homeless people living here, like, or we don't want homeless people to have these homes, because that's just what it seems like. From the there's a lot of perspectives you could take, but I'm going to build this into one. From the let's not call them builders, but their government, not the federal government, but the government responsible for building this. From the government and the homeless. Actually, no, I will do them separately. From the government's perspective, I don't know what type of issues they do or don't have with the homeless, but for them, it might just be as simple as that. They might say, oh, we're like California, like Skid Row in California. They're like, oh, we're tired of driving by and seeing these like homeless people. We should do something about it. I don't know if they have or have not been causing like some type of uproar in the community or whatever. I wouldn't imagine so, because the people would have been like, yeah, get them homes. So from the government's perspective, they're like, hey, we need to do something about them. There's blankets and cardboard boxes or whatever else on the street. We need to clean it up. Let's get them into some housing. From the homeless people's perspective, I mean, I don't think we need their perspective, do we? They're homeless. They want homes. It only makes sense. It's a basic necessity of life. It should be shelter. There was also, and it's ironic that this is happening in Canada. Not to change subjects too fast, but I believe another instance in Canada happened where there was a guy. I don't know if it was in Toronto or where it was, but there was a guy that was built. I don't think that was in the United States. It was in Canada. Someone was building houses for the homeless, like building them little shelters outside. He was a construction guy. He was building them out of wood and just making them really fast. And the government is actually suing him for doing that because he's building on public property. He's putting like these houses on the sidewalk and stuff for them. So he's being sued, and he got like it was mandated to stop, or he would be like arrested for building homes for the homeless. So that's a whole different topic. But I just thought it was ironic. I could talk about that for a little while too, but that's a completely different topic. But I just wanted to give you guys a great example, just to see how there's always two sides. I mean, there's always multiple sides, but two sides in general of a situation, two perspectives, and then the way people perceive things. Like the community perception is really somewhat of this is going to be an eyesore, and they're not even taking into consideration that this could help families out. Children just like their own. They're saying, this is going to affect my children's lives. This is like something that they were actually saying, because we can't park and go to the park or something, where they could park anywhere else, but they're like, this is going to affect the baseball games, and there's a local park and elementary school and all that, when I don't think they're taking into consideration these homeless people could have children too. You saying it's going to affect your children's lives because of baseball games. These children are homeless with their mothers, fathers, whoever their caretaker is, out on the streets, and you could help them if you guys are like, hey, build this as fast as you can, whatever, we'll do whatever we need to help you guys. But instead, you guys are like, nah, these kids can stay outside, it's cool. As long as my kid is allowed to go to this baseball game and they can park right here. They got to be able to park right at this spot. So I just thought that was an interesting thing. Just to see like how we always fight. And this is just a quick one. I always do when I explain this topic to people. This isn't the first time I've talked about this. When I explain this topic to people, I always talk about war. And I even think that I've done this on the show before, because this is just a topic that always rings my brain. I always talk about war and how there's never any winner in war, because take it from like United States versus. Oh, wait, I have a Canada shirt on. I didn't do that on purpose. I have a Canada shirt on talking about Canada. But, what was I about to say? When you think about war, for example, think about the United States versus Iraq or Afghanistan or Vietnam. It doesn't matter. From our perspective, we say, you know what? We're going to go into this country, and we want them to be more democratic. They have a tyrannic government. They have a dictator. We're trying to quote unquote save them. We want them to have a better government. That's exactly like what the Vietnamese War was about. So we go over there and we start fighting and bombing and whatever, and we expect them not to fight us back. We're literally on their land attacking them. So from our perspective, when they do propaganda on the news or on TV or whatever, like we're losing or we're winning this war or whatever, however many soldiers have died and stuff, we don't ever take, and people go like, oh man, I hope that we can win this and I hope that we come out on top. People never take into perspective that who we see as our villain, the people living there, they see themselves as their hero as well and see us as the villain. You can say the same thing for TV shows, for anything. When they look at us, they're like, they came over here and just started bombing us, started fighting us. Like, what the heck? And then we're looked at to them as like these evil people, and they don't have really any other examples of like what the United States is like, except for, hey, they came over here and started bombing our people, started shooting. Like the United States must be evil. Same way that we look at what the events that happened in 9/11. They attacked New York City, and we're like, yo, they're evil. They're like, whoever did this, we started naming everyone. Iraq, they did it, they're evil. Oh, it wasn't them, it was Afghanistan. Well, it's them, they're evil. Oh, it was Osama, like, get him and stuff. And obviously, like I said, from my perspective, I agree, because I live here. I'm like, I don't want to just be sitting at home and be attacked. So yeah, go do whatever you got to do. You got to go get Saddam Hussein, Osama bin Laden, whoever, you go get them. But I don't know if we were over there yet or what we were doing. You know, there's not conspiracy theories. I think it's been proven as fact. I don't remember if it was Saddam Hussein or Osama. One of them was like taught or trained by like the CIA. So I don't know if we were over there yet and we did something to provoke them and we're just not told that. But we could have been their enemy, and they're like, they came over here and killed our families or wherever, we have to get them back. And now they're coming, and now they go and fly into the Twin Towers, and they get us. You know what I mean? And I'm not justifying anything that was done to us or to them. I'm just, like I said, I'm just giving the perspective. We don't know what happens. We don't know what happens. It's crazy to me. I kind of always use Hitler too, because it's an interesting like thought experiment. Everyone else besides Hitler and his people thought like, yo, this is evil, this is crazy from our side. Like, we're seeing like, yo, you're just killing innocent people. And it's crazy to think that in his head he was like, yeah, this is the only way that I can make life right, or I can get things to be how they quote unquote should be. Like, he went through life and perceived it the way he did, and from his perspective, he said, well, I sat down, I can't think of anything else. This is all I got. It's crazy. It's just crazy to think about that. But the second topic, like I said, that I wanted to dive into was yourself and perception. Not just how you look at yourself. That's one thing. But how the world looks at you. I think you could use celebrities, you could use anybody for this. You could literally go on and on and on about this. This by itself could be its own show, its own episode. But just think about anything. How, like, think about your own life and the people that are in your life, right? Like, start with your mom. Your mom, to you, you're her big baby, her big baby. If you're able to watch this, I would assume you're at least minimum like 8 years old plus. And you're able to listen and think about this type of stuff. So just start with your mom. You're like her big baby, whether you're 8 or 23 like me. My mom still looks at me like a baby. She knows that I'm grown and I have to work, and I've been through college and graduated, and been through high school and graduated and did all this stuff. But to her, from her perspective, I'm still a baby. I'm still like, she's the one that birthed me and changed my diapers and did all that stuff. That's from my mom, right? For my mom, there was a time where I wasn't thought about. There was a time where I wasn't even imagined. Even if she thought like, oh, I want to have a son one day, she didn't know it would be Duron and he'd look like this, and you know what I mean? She didn't know that. But take that from a different perspective. I have younger siblings. For them, there was never a time where I wasn't here. I just always existed for them. As soon as they were born, I mean, he was here. There's never been a time where Duron wasn't here. But for me, same thing. There was a time where they weren't thought of. They weren't here. So the way, that's just one example. And then if you use just passerbyers, like if you think about the people that you grew up with, went to high school, middle school with, whatever, and the way that you might see that kid, I'm just naming anyone, that kid that you went like, yo, he's really weird. He does this or does that, and that's the only thing that you ever know about him. You may not even have ever had a conversation with him. You just know that person as that, and they have dear friends, dear family members, loved ones, and they know them in and out. Know what they like to do, what they hate to do, where they like to go, where they hate to go. And all you know this person is as like, he did this one thing one time. He was running down the hall. Why is he always running through the school? Like, I don't know. I know his name because we all know each other's names, but that's all I know about him. He runs through the halls. I know his name, and he's weird. That's one version of that person that's out there, and exists. That's your version of them. And then there's a version of that person that they think of themselves. They might think, yo, I think running's cool and this and that. They don't see a problem with it. They don't see it's weird. They think it's awesome. Their parents might see that and go like, oh, that's just them. They've always been running since they were a kid. You know what I mean? Like it's just crazy. It's just crazy to think about, man. And that goes into like a whole different like subsection of which one is the real you. And the only true to me, to my real answer, or my answer is, there's the only real you is all of them combined, but there's no way to combine all of them, which is kind of like a mind blower. The way that you perceive yourself, I might, like, for example, I don't see myself as rude. I see myself as this is a perfect example. I see myself as very calm, very laid back. I do my best not to get angry. I think that I try to be sweet, try to be generous, try to like give when I can, whatever, right? There are probably people that I have snapped on and I don't have a great, like, I've never had tons of conversations with them. They only have had maybe 2-3 conversations with me, and they probably think I'm awful because they don't really know me. But they have their version of me in their head, and they're like, yo, that guy gets angry, he snaps, whatever. There's some people who I've only probably had one conversation with, and they think I'm the nicest guy in the world. They're like, yo, he was so nice, he had this big smile, whatever. And all of those things, all of these versions of me that exist are all me. I can't say that one of them is not, because however I treated those people and however they perceived it, I mean, that's their I can't say that their perception is wrong. Who am I to say that? Their perception is right, and that is me to them. That's not me to me, but me to them. That's so weird. Me to me, me to them. That my version or their version of me, it exists and it's real. And I would be very, very, very wrong to deny that to them and say, nope, that isn't me. You saw me wrong. Whatever I did, or however they went through life, whatever their perception of life is, that is what they gained from our conversation, from our time spent, from whatever, and it exists. I don't know for the people that are live listening and the people that are watching this later. I don't know if as you're listening to this, you're thinking about all this, but my mind is going crazy. Everyone knows that I take pauses to like think, but my brain is just going everywhere with this. Like, as I'm trying to think of the next thing to say, I just could say so much. But in general, it's just a crazy thing to think about to me. As I walk down the street, or as you walk down the street, you might see this. I think this goes into a whole different conversation. Like I said, with the Sonder, and for those of you that don't know, being Sonder, the definition of that word is realizing that the world like doesn't revolve around you, and also at the same time realizing everyone has their own story. So I already did an episode about that. I'm not going to do a whole thing. However, just for 30 seconds or so, as you walk down the street, you might see somebody has ripped clothes on, right? Whatever. And there might be four different, like, there's four of you guys in a group, right? And you see somebody walking down the street with ripped clothes. Person A says, what, they like Yeezy or something? They like holes in their clothes? Ha ha ha. Person B might go, oh no, I think they probably got attacked by a dog or something. Look at this, they got scratches on their arms, whatever. Person C goes, well, they look like they were crying. They might have got attacked by a person or whatever. And person D is like, nah, I think that they probably made them clothes themselves. They're probably trying to be a fashion designer or something. There's four different perspectives and four different perceptions immediately, right there. And they're all real. We don't know the quote-unquote truth about, like, well, I won't say the quote-unquote truth. I mean, there is only one truth, whatever truly did happen to this person. The fifth one is what did happen to this person. They might, I don't have a fifth thing to do. What could I come up with? They might have, I don't know. One of those scenarios has got to be true. Either they like holes in their clothes, like Yeezy, number one. Number two is they were fighting a dog. Number three was they were fighting a person. Number four was they made the clothes themselves. I don't know. Number five could be that they were a homeless person or something and they didn't have any clothes and they found it they found it somewhere, either whether in a trash can or side of the road. Somebody was throwing some clothes out or something. So they were like, well, this doesn't look to be too bad. I don't know. That could be the real thing. But what I'm trying to say is, that's the only... Now, let's say you never see that person again. Or if you do, but you didn't talk to them, you didn't have a conversation with them, that version of them now exists. And they don't even know it. They have no idea. When I tell you that there are millions of versions of yourself, I mean it. And most of them you don't even know exist. If you have ever just been chilling walking down the street, which literally we all have unless you just have never left your house, if you've been in a parking lot, if you've been anywhere, and people see you, which people have seen you before, then there's different versions of you that exist. And and I'm not saying all these people are taking you seriously and they're just remembering you like, oh, I'm not telling you that you're that important. Calm down. But what I'm telling you is that cashier that you saw or whatever, or that person in the shop, right, where you went to go get milk or something and you had to say, oh, excuse me, to get it. They looked at you, they judged you, they made a version of you to themselves. They might not ever think about it or see you again. But now that version exists of you. They might say, oh, that person, he said excuse me, he was nice, but he stunk. Ooh, he said excuse me and he smelled good. You know what I mean? Like all of those exist. And I just think, normally for the episodes normally for the episodes I try to have like a solution or like how can we take this and go forward. I don't really have a crazy one for this. The only thing I can even think about is just using it, knowing that, how do I even want to word this? Knowing that this phenomenon is out there might help you go through life a little easier. Maybe. It might make you take life a little less seriously. Just like, I'll put it like this. Just know that we're all judging. We all have to judge. Just know that we're all making very different versions of ourselves of people all the time. And we have to judge because that is the only way that humans have evolved to the point where we can survive right now. We had to make judgment calls back then and say, I don't know if I'm going to go fight this deer, fight this thing or whatever, or I don't know if I'm going to go out at this time because lions or whatever, you know what I mean? Like the fact that we're able to judge and make judgment calls and make them about people is the only reason that we've survived this long. That we're able to live somewhat harmoniously together and not fight all the time. So that being said, when you feel as though, oh, why are all these people judging me, or this person doesn't know me, but they think they do. It's okay. They don't know you, and that's fine. That's completely fine. The people that you think know you best probably don't even know you, to the point where you think that they do. Their perception of you is probably not even your perception of yourself. It's okay. It's more than okay. It's going to happen to you for the rest of your life, where people are misjudging you or thinking that they know you, but they actually have misinformation. And there's no way to stop that but to be yourself. That's literally the only way. So I guess from there, I'm gonna I'll open it up for questions. See if anybody else can blow my mind. I was hoping you would come to the stage because I actually have a question for you, bro. But you go ahead first. No, you go ahead first, bro. We can't hear you. Yeah, we can't hear you, bro. I'm going to move you to the audience and try to bring you back and see if it helps. Move to audience and then invite to speak. But I don't know if you're listening. I'll ask again later. Were you? I don't remember if you were in that class with us. Were you in that class my freshman year where I think her name was Miss M or Miss something. It was a humanities class and she was talking about all this. I don't remember.
I don't believe so, but I remember you talking to me later on about it.
Yeah, because I remember Feek was in this class. Ajane was in this class. I don't remember if you were in there.
Yeah, see, I didn't make it to this one. You guys all were together. I wasn't around. I think I had a different humanities.
Oh, okay.
But you can hear me now. I got a question. How quickly do you think you can make and I guess change that first, I guess, perception of yourself or someone else?
How quickly? I think we make it immediately. And I think like I said, I think that's the only way we've survived this long. Change, I also think we're able to change it very quickly. For example, if you go into the store and somebody bumps you, you immediately get like angry or whatever, unless you've worked on it. Like I'm using myself. When I was younger or whatever, somebody bumped me and I'm like, oh, like what the? And I'm mad. And then they're like, oh, my bad. My first perception of them obviously is like, oh, they're rude or whatever. But as soon as they go, oh, I'm so sorry, excuse me, then immediately changes. I'm like, oh no, it's okay. Like it's fine. But I think we can do that so very quickly. Whereas there have been times where people are just loud and obnoxious, and I look at them like, yo, what is wrong with them? Or because I can't hear the words they're saying, but I'm on one side of a Walmart or something, and I hear somebody snapping, and then I'm like, yo, why is somebody yelling? And then I go over there, and they're snapping because they can't get their money back or something. And I'm like, oh, and then I might change my perception, like, oh wow, I wish I was able to fight like that. Anyone that knows me, I don't fight with nobody's customer service. I just take L's, and I'm ashamed to say it, but like if I can't get my money back, I'm like, oh man, my mom is built like that. My girl, her mom, they're built like that. I can't fight nobody's customer service because they didn't do anything to me. Like I'm not the one to yell, go get your manager. I can't do it. So that's just a quick example. I think we make judgments quickly, and then we can change. I think we can change them almost immediately as well.
That's fair, because I remember you and I spoke about this, like I said, when you first had the humanities class, and like it kind of blew my mind that even in that class, you told me how everybody thought of it different, and some people understood what they were, or what, you know, this professor was saying. Some people had no clue what she was saying. It's all funny to look back on now.
Yeah, and I was somewhat, like, even me looking back now, I was somewhat one of them. But I do remember in the class, everyone was like, "Yo, what is she talking about?" And I was like, I didn't really get it. Like I said, I'm a big movie person, so I understood the whole thing from, like, vantage point. I don't know if anyone's ever seen that movie. It has Forrest Whitaker in it and whatever. They're all trying to solve, like, somebody got shot, and it shows all these different quote unquote vantage points. So I kind of understood it from there. Like, yeah, people see things differently, but I didn't understand this concept. To think about perception and the fact that, like, the way that I see you, bro, and the way that your sister sees you, and the way that a professor sees you, the way that whoever works at your job sees you, they're all different. They're all different versions of you, and they're all real, and none of them are quote unquote incorrect, because, like, however you talk to this person is the way that they judge you, and they say, yeah, whatever. Like, you know what I mean? Like, they're all real. It's crazy.
I agree. I'm glad you actually used this as your topic today, because it was something that I had actually seen the Twitter post that you had talked about, the one with the parking lot.
Yeah, I think I liked it or retweeted it or something.
Yeah, so I had seen that, and just thinking about it in my head, I'm thinking, put up the buildings. If 64 new housing units are going to come in, it's always going to be great. But then you think about it, and the people who are making claims that, oh no, this is for their kids, they do have grounds, for that claim. It does make sense, but I guess it's just a matter of what's more important to everybody at once, or the most amount of people at once.
Exactly. The whole utilitarian aspect of it and stuff, and who can benefit the most. And I don't want to. Well, how much time we got left? I got a little bit of time. There's like this whole. I've taken philosophy classes and stuff, and if you said that to my professor, he would be like, "To who though? Most important to who?" And you say, "Well, to everybody." But who's everybody? Like, those philosophy questions always, like, get to me, because there's truly no way to answer them. If I say, "Well, what benefits the most?" Like, what benefits the community the most? He goes, well, define benefits. I'm like, well, there's more housing for people, and there's less homeless, like, people on there. And he's like, well, what if someone else's definition of benefit is space? Now there's less space, so there's less benefits. And it's like, yo, you can't win with philosophy. But it's for thought experiments. It's so awesome to think about, because you're right. You don't know what perspective or what angle or from whom that you're thinking about, because it just makes more sense to us. We're like, yeah, if people are going to not be homeless, then build the homes. But then this one guy said, what about, like, overpopulation? I mean, I think he's dragging it with 64 new, like, families at max. Let's say there's 2 people per unit. That's like what, 128 or something. So I don't think 128 new people is going to cause overpopulation. But he was saying, like, oh, what about overpopulation, and what about, like, space and density of the area and stuff. And from one angle, like, he's right. If you look at, oh, well, this is going to benefit the community. Yeah, we'll have more people, but is more people beneficial to the community right now? Can we afford that? Yada, yada, yada. Which I think is incorrect, because if you look at taxes, I mean, those people have to pay taxes, and because they're in the community, they'll go to the local shops now, and they'll spend money there. And the people that get, for example, whoever owns the shop, the Joneses that own the shop, they're going to spend their money and spend it in the community as well, and it just circulates the economy. So I do think it will be beneficial, but that's my definition of beneficial. Someone else's might not look at the money, and they go, well, now the community is so more confined and blah blah blah, because we're taking away this parking lot. People are going to go park on next to housing and stuff, and this is going to take away the parking spaces for people's homes. I don't know. I'm just making stuff up as I go, but like you said, there are a lot of claims, and I get it. I definitely get it. But if there aren't any more questions, I guess I will end it there. I actually really did like today's topic. I could do a whole thing about philosophy. Philosophy in general is just hilarious and awesome to me at the very same time. Just a quick tat. I mean, like I said, I already really talked about that, but I just know for philosophy, every perspective and everything that we perceive, you're allowed to like question everything in philosophy, everything. But I won't go into a whole tirade about that. Not right now. I'll end it there. Like I said, today is Monday, March 1st. It's the beginning of a new month. I want you guys to make some new goals and go achieve them because this year is flying by already. You can follow me on all social media platforms at the Duron Coles. You can at me and tell me your goals if you want. And I will end it there. 8:22 a.m. Monday morning. Let's go attack it, guys. I will see you here tomorrow.